What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So today, very exciting day. One of my favorite things to do is we're gonna put new strings on the Gen 1 Reckoning. I love putting on a new set of strings because usually by the time I do, they could really use them, and I just love having that brand new string on my bow. It always sucks, you know, needing to get everything set back to the way it was. You get comfortable with it, you want everything the same. But with how I do it, I pretty much get it like right back to where it was. Also, I use the greatest strings on the market, in my opinion, right now. Rogue bowstrings. These guys make like top-notch, best bowstrings by far. I've never really had an issue with them. They're just very, very reliable strings. So I always love shooting these strings and, like I said, putting on a new set. So that is what we're going to do today. We're going to swap these out, put a new set on. So we are here in the shop. I got the wood stove going because it is freezing here in New York. So yeah, I'm going to walk you through it and kind of show you how I do it and put new strings on. So yeah, let's get to it. Alright, so the first thing I always do is measure my peat, where it is, because how the D loop and the knocking point is set to my rest, I'm going to have it basically in the same spot because it's where the arrow lies even, everything's flush. So this should be put in the same spot when I'm done with that. So I always measure where my peep is at. And you could use anything for reference. I like using my stop, my string stop there as reference. So I use that and measure the distance to the peep, so I know the exact place to put it back in when I put the new string on. And then I start just cutting the peep out, put it in the new ones. So if you are new, make sure anytime you are cutting out the serving or the peep tie-in that you stay flush with the string. So you go right up flat against the string. Do not cut in, you'll cut your strings. And that is even if you're doing work on strings that you're keeping on there but need to swap something out. Always cut against it, blade out, not inverted towards the string at all. That is a huge no-no. Trust me, the last thing you ever want to do is cut a string, or even just a strand of the string. That's still not good. So I started for filming here just taking out the peep, cut with it, and now I'm just unraveling my tie here. So that way we could remove this guy and start rolling on putting the new string on. And sorry if you could hear that sound like wind against fire. It's just the wood stove sucking in air against the flames. But it is nice and toasty in here. And obviously I want to do things right because these strings are not shot to where they're garbage. They're actually in good shape. So I'm going to hang on to them as a backup in case something really bad happens and I need to temporarily get a set of strings on here or whatever. I'll have these as a backup. So I don't want to cut them, I don't want to do any damage to them, which I wouldn't anyways, but especially since they're still in great shape. Alright, so I'll just keep untying this guy. And of course, make your life easy. If you're gonna do this stuff at home, invest in a good press, and you cannot go wrong with the Last Chance press. I tell you, they are the best out there. Last Chances really makes the best equipment. Everything they make is top of the line, so absolutely worth the money. I would never even think about investing in any other piece of equipment rather than Last Chance. All right, so peep is untied. I'm just gonna give myself a little bit of slack there and take this guy out. Okay, so peep is out. I'm just gonna leave the D-loop and stuff on. There's no point of cutting it off right now. So everything else is good. So we're gonna go right into swapping out the strings. All right, so we're here. We're getting ready to just swap the strings out. Let me check on the fire real quick. Ooh, toasty. All right, and of course you want to make sure your fingies are clean. All right, so get your bow pressed. Now when you take the strings out of the pack, I try not to let them twist at all. They're always put in the end loops, that is, put in paper clips. So that way they won't untwist from how they have them leaving the shop. But just do your best not to let any twists out when you remove them from your pack. So we'll set these over here. Cable. Okay. So this is our bowstring. We'll just go ahead and get the bowstring off. And also try, especially if you're going to save the strings, try not to let any twists out of the strings either. That way if you do need to put them on for any reason, they should be exactly the way they were when you took them off. So what I actually do is I have these clips and I'll clip the end loops together the exact way they were on the string. And then after I take the new strings out of the paper clips and put the strings on, I'll put the paper clips on these and then repackage them. That way they're there for backups. But like I said, you don't want to let it untwist and unravel because then everything's out of spec. And you'll be in a little bit of a mess and more of a headache if, like I said, emergency situation or whatever, and you need to put those strings back on. Okay, so it. And when you're replacing the main bowstring, you always know which side is what, because they'll have a piece of string which marks the dead center of the string up at the top, because that's where your peep goes. So like I said, I won't add or remove any twists right now. I just, if you accidentally let one or whatever out, it's not end of the world, we'll probably be fine. But I try to just keep it exactly the way it was in the pack. And once you have them on the pegs on the cams like I do now, they won't untwist. Alright, so that is our main bowstring. And what I always do is replace one string at a time. That way, it's just easier that way. Like, you know where it has to ride on your cable guard and on the bow itself, so I always take one off and then put the next one on. So that is our main string right there. Now, as you can see, this is the string I was talking about, right there and there. So I'm just gonna undo this knot here. Slide it up a little bit. Now when you do that, you gotta be careful that you don't let it out of the string, at least until you're ready to put the peep in, which I always leave it in. It's just a thing that I do, and also that Jesse Broadwater does, for a couple of different reasons. All right, so you want to make sure you look at how it's routed through your cable guard and also how it's routed on the cam, so that way you route it the exact same way. So always make sure you take a look at that and then figure out how you want to attack that. So with these Bowtechs, you gotta undo this flex guard here. Now, the top one goes on the top, bottom, roller. And that's how I'll remember it.
So what I'm actually going to do here is replace this bottom one first. Now you also got to figure out which string is for what. So what you want to do is look at the serving of how it is, because this one is short, it stops here, and the serving goes down to here. This one, the serving's from here to here. So you want to get your cables and you want to match them up so you know which one is which. Yep, so this one looks like it's the bottom one. Yep, so that's the one we want. So be careful not to let that untwist at all. Which is why these clips are handy, since I took it out of the paper clip to match it up. Just clip it and lay it down, and then start unhooking this. So now I'm just going to look how the string was. Okay. just like how the other one was. I forgot. With this Bowtech cam, you usually want to run this side that I'm doing now first. Because it's a little bit of a pain. Press this a little more just to give me a little more slack. That's on. Which is the bottom. Alright, now we're going to get this guy on. That's for this twist, get it in the paper clip. Boom, secure. Let's get our original bowstring in the paper clip. Boom, secure. Now our final cable. I'll let that twist it all. Remember how this is routed. And start getting this guy off. I have to start with this one. It's going to be a pain. Alright. So my handy tool here. Sometimes they're on the peg pretty good where they don't want to come off. So this just helps get them off there. There we go. A little bit of crap over there. Let's do this over time. So what I'm actually going to do, hold like that. Take this. Make sure I have it laid the right way. Yep. Okay. Come on. Of course you're gonna get stuck like that. Swap these out. And I came over top. Things can stop coming apart. It's just because I have so much slack in it right now, so I can get this stuff on that it'll fall. As long as everything's on its pegs, you're perfectly fine. Alright. Now we're going to route this guy. Which is top. cable guard like how it's supposed to be. And this is why I say I do one at a time, because you always have something to compare it to from how it was before. You know, like, even though I know how this goes, with rerouting, with how these cables are routed in the cam, when I was rerouting it, I even questioned myself for a second. So I took a second, looked at the other one, saw how it was, and I was able to replicate it and put it right back to how it was. So you always want to give yourself that little bit of something to look back at to make sure you're doing things right. So top was top, bottom was bottom, just like how it was. Now, before I start letting some tension back in this, you want to make sure everything's in its right tracks. Everything's on the pegs well. Okay, so let's put a little tension back in here so everything can tighten up. Before you completely let it out, I always double check. I just let a lot of tension back in. So if there was a little slack in this, how it's routed in the cam, I let a little more tension back in it and it just tightens it back up. So as you can see, I have pretty good tension in it right now. So everything's on its pegs, everything's in its tracks. Cable guard is back on. It's routed correctly on the cable guard. It's looking good. Alright, so now we'll go into going on the peak. Alright, so real quickly, I put some wood on the fire, and while I did, I checked the axle just to make sure it's in spec, which it is. You always just want to check and make sure everything is in spec the way it's supposed to be. The manufacturer has a guide for every bow of what the axle is supposed to be, you know, what the pound is supposed to be, stuff like that, so that way you can get it right back to the way it is. Otherwise you may run into some issues with like timing, stuff like that. So I checked it, it's good. So now what we're going to do is get the peep sight in and get the D-loop on. So we're going to do that now. All right. So have it back to where it's almost complete slack like it was. Exact same spot. Okay, so we need it up a little bit. And like I said, that string that's in the center, when you put the strings on, it's to mark the dead center of the string. So that way when you put your peep in, it's in the exact dead center of those bowstrings. So you always want to leave that in. Oh yeah, that's almost right there. use it at first as a marker, so I know where that is, the peep needs to go, and then I'll move that string up. So, okay, get some slack. Get this ready to go in. And don't necessarily worry about the orientation of it right now, meaning like how it's positioned, if it's not straight or anything else like that, because there's a ton of stuff that we got to do, which will change the orientation of it. So before I lose the string, now I got the peep in. I'm just going to move this up a bit. Out of my way. Oh. Make sure it's in the tracks of the peep. Okay, let's put some tension back in. Okay. A little more so it's almost relaxed. Now we're just going to check the measurement again. It needs to come up just a tiny bit. Let's check that. Oops, down just a touch. Yep, right there. Actually, can go down just a tad. There we go. Yep, right there is good. Okay. So that's where we want it. Make sure that the string is in the tracks. That way that you have no issues. Okay. Okay, beautiful. So now we can begin that tying that in, since it's right where we want it. Yep. Actually, we'll leave it for now. It's actually pretty straight, which is nice, so we might not have to move it. Let's take it out here, see how it sits. Yeah, no, that sits pretty good right there. Yeah, it's sitting nice. Alright, so let's tie our D-loop on. We'll tie that in. So I know it's where it needs to be, and it's going to be perfect, but for other people, like if you were to set up or you're not really sure how it's going to sit, if it's like a completely different axle-to-axle bow, something like that, then you'll want to put a D-loop on, stuff like that, so you can draw it back and make sure it's good. I know it's going to be good because everything is going to be set the exact same with how this bow is. It's going, you know, it's just going right back on the same bow. So, it's fine, I know, but everything is the exact same, so it's not that big of a deal. I could just leave it, tie it in, knowing that it's going to be good. That's in the exact same spot it was, because the D-loop and everything else is going in the exact same spot. So, I'm going to get out some serving. Tie in where it is. And the way I tie it in anyways, I could always move it if I needed to. So tie your square knot, finish it off. Actually, what I should do here is, when you do this last knot, make sure that's tight underneath. You're going to tie your over under, but you're going to put one extra loop in there. And that helps keep it nice and tight, especially with putting in a square knot to finish. You're going to do the exact same, but instead of looping it around the way you usually do, you're going to do the opposite for the top tie. So come around once. Okay, so our square mounts in. And I always like with peep sights, and even my knock sets, I'll use pliers just to make sure it's nice and tight, because you don't want anything coming loose or anything like that. So I'll use pliers, because not only that, but when you try to get it tight with your fingers, you end up cutting your fingers. So I learned that the hard way. Alright, so we're going to leave it like that for now. We're going to cut the ends of these off. Make sure you always cut away from the bowstring. We're going to burn it. Just like that. So we got that tied on. Alright, so before I do my finishing ties, now I'm going to do my D-loop and stuff, so I know that this won't move on me. So what we're going to do is take it out of the press. We're going to move it to the vise. That way I can make sure everything's level and where it needs to be. So, okay, now that our bow is in the vise, what we're going to do is take one of our arrows. We're going to make sure that the string is level to the ground, that the bow is level. Move this until it's level. Put on our arrow. Look here. Because I know with this, how I ran it before, that it was straight through the burger butt in there, which is like right where it is now. So now I'm going to put my level on the arrow. Which is perfect. So right there is where we want it. So take my silver Sharpie, mark it right there. Which is perfect. So now I'm going to take my peep tie thread, or my knock tie thread. So got the jig, my knock tie thread, take out some of that. And we're going to begin tying it in right there, which is perfect. And this is why I said I know the peep is going to be where it should be, because everything is going to be ran the exact same. that off. Get this out of our way. This off. And now I can just start tying. I got my first knot in there. Make sure it's nice and tight. And come around the back side. And on this third, so I do one on each side, 1, 1, 2, 2, and then do my third. And on my third, on the back side here is where I make sure with the pliers again, it's nice and tight because I'm going to finish the knot with another square knot. So at first, I'm going to make sure this is nice and tight. Same thing, how you usually tie it, do the opposite to finish the square knot. And then same thing, through the pliers. A few reps. Nice and tight. You always want to make sure you don't pull it too hard. You want to pull it hard, but not too hard, because the line will break, and then you can screw yourself by not giving yourself enough tag ends to melt it down or to tie another knot or whatever it is. It's mainly when you're tightening it with pliers that I've had that happen, where it will break in the pliers. And that always sucks. So now, real quick, we're just going to put this level back on. Make sure she's perfect. Put our arrow back on. And put our good. Good. Exactly perfect. And it's exactly the way where it was before, dead through that burger hole. These are 27 arrows, so it completely covers those burger holes. So that's good. So we got our knock set tied in. So now what we're going to do is go back to the press. We're going to burn that, because anytime you burn anything, you want to make sure that the bow is laying down like this so the flames come up and not hitting any of your strings. Alright, we're back in the press. So now we're going to burn these tag ends real quick. Beautiful. Okay. Now we're going to do our D-loop, which currently I am using DCY D-braid. I've been digging that. I really like 23, BCY 23. So this, I actually put a knock on of the D-braid on the old strings. That's actually what was on it. I liked it, it's good. Not bad at all. So I'm just going to use that again. Cut myself a piece here. Hopefully I cut a big enough piece. We're going to find out. Fluff the end. Melt that into a nice ball. Start tying our D-loop. Might give myself just enough here. Pliers. Pull on that a little bit. That's it there. Now we're going to come around. Ooh, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tight here. If I gave myself enough room. So now this is how I like to do mine. Now this is going to be short, so I don't have to cut any off. So I'm just going to go ahead and burn this real quick. Make a ball on this end. And I'm going to spread it out some. Once I get it like that, then I'm going to take my arrow, put it in there where you want just a little bit of room that I can move like that. And I know it's going to tighten up a bit. You don't want too much. Some people give themselves a lot of room in there, which I understand why they say you don't want knock, pinch, and all that. But I actually found that I give myself a little less than other people do. Still has room, it's definitely not pinching, but it can't move so freely. So like how that is, it just barely has a little bit, and that's how I like it, really. So that's good. And it's like right there with the peep, which is good. Try to get that aligned together. I can really snug on it. Again, that's good. Now I should be able to get my other pliers in there and just finish it off. Now everybody has their own ways of doing literally everything. This is just my way of how I like to do things, which is why I do it myself. I like doing things my way. I have just grown accustomed to the way I like things, you know? So I like doing this stuff myself so I can make sure that it's the way I like it. All right, that is perfect. Everything looks good. So, now, we can actually tie this peep in, finish tying that in, because rotation looks good. So we're gonna do that now. Nothing really moved on us where it twisted, and these strings are just so good that they're not going to twist around and all that stuff on you. So get some more thread. Nice little bit there. Now usually what I've been known to do is like making it like super pretty with like twists going up and down the string and, you know, the peep. I'm actually straying away from that now to where I rather just do the main tie for it in, and then I just do my 2 end ties to pinch it in there. And that's all I need on my target setup. I don't need anything like super crazy. You know, a hunting setup might be a little different. Where you really want to make sure that doesn't move. But with the target setup, it just, for me, I've learned it's just more of a pain in the butt than anything. When you're trying to swap things out or you're trying to move anything, you gotta undo all those little like knots you have going up and down the string. So I actually found I like this more simplistic way a little better, and it's all you need for a target rig. Of course, again, just like most things with archery, it's all personal preference. So you could do it however you want to. It's completely up to you. And I've done it every different way, pretty much. This is just currently what I've come to the realization of, and just think it's perfectly fine. Nice and tight there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Flip this up, do 6. So that's 10. So now I'm going to do my two, three, 4, and 5. Over here, grab our tag end and pull. Okay. Grab this tag end, and we're going to pull it tight. But see what I mean? So you got to be careful because you'll fray like that. Okay, so that's good. Now we're going to grab this. And we're going to pull this tight. Okay. Cut these down. Try to do one tag end at a time. This tag end. Beautiful. So I did that way on this one. So I'm going to do this way on this side. There's there. Come through. And you see it, because I went one direction on one side. Now I'm doing the different direction on the other side. It just pulls it back to straight. 2, 3, 4, 5. Pull that up. 1. 2, 3, 4. That gives us our 10. Nice and tight. tension and finish out our knot. Pull through. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pull it tight. Start with this end. Nice and tight. I'm going to take this end, pull it nice and tight. And boom, our peep is tied. Just going to check the tension, make sure all that slack is out real quick. Good. And our peep is right back to straight. Exactly how we want it. Alright. Now we'll cut those and do the same burn. Save these for knot ties and the long ends. Beautiful. Alright, so our peep is tied in. Nice and even gaps on both sides. Even amount of ties, wraps on both sides. We got 15 on both. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Now we're going to move on to checking the poundage, make sure it's at 60 pounds, and then also the timing. And now it's just all tuning from here. Alright, so check the timing, the axle measurements, and also the poundage is perfectly at 60 pounds. I got the timing dead on. I had to put 1 twist and a half in the top cam because it was a little slow. Met perfect where they're touching at the same time perfectly. So set that up. Went one turn, brought the cams on the deadlock system where you could move the cams with just the Allen key. I put them all the way to the right, so they're both locked all the way to the right, and then took one full Allen key turn out to the left. So one turn to the left with these arrows, because that's really how this bow has been tuning since I got it. So did that. Everything else is in spec and good. So now I'm just going to shoot through this paper and make sure everything is good and tuned and shooting good, which it should. So we're going to do that now. Once I can get the camera to cooperate. Sorry, we're going to have a little bit of weird camera stuff now that I'm done putting the new strings on. Alright, so shoot this guy. See how it is. And then from there, I'll probably just go through every arrow that I use for tournaments and shooting and just knot tune them, make sure they're all bullet holing the exact same. And then this new string change will be done. think I've lost my bubble a little bit. That there does not look good. So we're going to give it a little bit of twist on the neck. Do that. And then also grab my light because I couldn't see my bubble at all. So I have no idea if it was level, if I was torquing or what. So. Shoot it, bird. This was that first one. I don't know what the hell I did there. This was the second one, which is not horrible. If anything, it looks like it might be a little more high, but I'm gonna give that. Knock the neck twist. Try it again. Looks like the cam position might be good. Freaking minuscule. I'll definitely take that. So, part of the sloppiness could just be me tonight, but that looks really good, so I'm gonna keep it there. Nice. So bow is tuned. So now it's just a matter of tuning all the arrows and just making sure they all shoot perfect bullet holes. So that is it. That's putting on new strings. Just always gotta check your timing, check the specs of the bow, make sure. One thing I forgot to say is before I put on the strings, usually you always want to top your cams out, or top your limbs out. So if it's a 60-pound bow, turn your limb bolts all the way to the max, so it's at that max poundage, which, like I said, this one's 60 pounds. It was already maxed out, so that's why I didn't say anything or do it, because it already was. So I didn't need to do that. But if, say you're shooting a 60-pound bow and you're shooting at 45 or 50 pounds for indoors, and you go to change the strings, you should max those limbs out all the way, and then do your string change. That way you know you're getting the max poundage out of those strings, just to make sure everything's in spec, and then you could back it back down to what you like to shoot it at. So just one tip, and then yeah, that's my process for putting on new strings. And as you can see, it works pretty damn well for me. I get everything right there. It's just always a matter of checking everything, measuring everything, trying to get it dead on to how it was on the old strings to how it is with the new strings. And you really don't change a whole lot. Now, I don't really have to do it with these strings. Usually they say when you put on new strings to put like 100, 200 shots through them, and then recheck the timing, and the peep might turn and all that, but it's just the string settling. So then you would recheck your timing, fix the peep if it rotated a little bit, do all that, and then it's good. It should stick with the new strings. But with Rogues, I've noticed that you really don't have to worry about that too much, because I'll still, as always, check after a couple hundred arrows and make sure everything's still where it needs to be, and it usually is. Very rarely does anything change where I need to make a change, you know what I mean? So one of the reasons I love shooting these strings, and I'll continue shooting the strings, and why I support them, they're just, I can't tell you enough how great quality strings they really are. So much so that I know going into these huge national tournaments I can trust them. So that's why I love them, and as you can see, they're easy enough to get tuned and set up. So anyways, I just wanted to make this video just to show you guys, if you're scared of doing this yourselves, don't be. It's really not that hard. Just take it slow, take it easy, like I said, and check everything, measure everything. Take it one step at a time. That way you always have a reference. Take pictures if you needed to. When I first started teaching myself how to do this stuff and learning from other people, I would take pictures of how the bow was before I started taking strings off and adjusting everything. That way I could always look back on the pictures and know this is how they were routed, whether through the flex guard or in the cam or however it is. You have a picture there to look back on and know, so that way you can put it back the same. Or worst comes to worst, you do it, you need to see how it looked and forgot to take a picture, you could just Google it, look it online, go to the website like Bowtech's website, or look up the owner's manual or whatever. There's always ways to find it. So don't stress about it. It's pretty easy. Just have to have general knowledge of what you're doing, and just be safe with it. So thanks guys, I appreciate you watching this video, and there will be a lot more coming out. There's some huge updates. If you haven't seen, or if the other video hasn't come out with my big update video, it will be out soon. But there's a lot going on, and this tournament season is going to be real exciting. So thanks guys, I will talk to you later.